Capricorn, this week forces a realization you've been postponing through discipline, and once it arrives, you can't unknow it. Mercury enters Gemini and immediately conjuncts Uranus, activating your routines, work structures, health, stress patterns, obligations, and relationship with efficiency. Something changes suddenly inside your daily life. A schedule shifts, a responsibility becomes unstable, or you finally recognize that the pace you've normalized is no longer sustainable. Not because you are incapable, because you are human. Mars entering Taurus this week helps you more than you realize. It stabilizes your focus and gives you practical momentum instead of frantic momentum. But emotionally, it also exposes a problem. You've become so accustomed to carrying pressure that you no longer recognize how heavy your life has become. This week changes that, especially as Venus enters Cancer and activates your relationship axis. Emotional conversations become unavoidable now. Someone may ask for more vulnerability from you, or you may quietly realize that emotional distance has started replacing genuine connection in an important relationship. And Capricorn, listen carefully. Competence is not intimacy. Being dependable does not automatically make you emotionally available. That distinction matters deeply this week. Around May 19th, Mercury trines Pluto while Venus harmonizes with Mars, creating unusually productive emotional honesty. A conversation that could have become defensive instead becomes clarifying. Someone may finally explain what they've been feeling beneath the surface. Or you may recognize that your emotional restraint has unintentionally created loneliness, both for yourself and others. That realization is uncomfortable, but necessary. Because somewhere around the middle of the week, there's a moment where you stop seeing emotional vulnerability as inefficiency. You begin understanding that emotional honesty actually prevents future instability rather than creating it. That's growth. The Sun enters Gemini later in the week and immediately conjuncts Uranus, bringing sudden changes into creativity, romance, emotional expression, or personal fulfillment. A new idea appears unexpectedly. A relationship dynamic shifts quickly. Or you suddenly realize you've been surviving for so long that you forgot to actively participate in your own happiness. Do not ignore that realization. It may be one of the most important emotional truths of your year. Venus square Neptune later in the week creates emotional ambiguity in communication. Someone may become unclear, expectations may blur, or nostalgia may tempt you to revisit an old emotional pattern because it feels safer than uncertainty. Slow down before committing emotionally to unclear situations. Ask for precision, not reassurance alone. And Capricorn, one more thing. You are entering a phase where emotional sustainability matters just as much as material stability. Your future cannot be built entirely on endurance. At some point, your life must also contain nourishment. This week begins correcting that imbalance. By the weekend, you may feel quieter emotionally, but far more internally aligned. Less focused on proving your resilience, more focused on protecting your peace. That shift will change more than you currently realize.
Capricorn, your tarot card is the Wheel of Fortune. Something is turning. The Wheel of Fortune appears during karmic pivots, moments where life begins rearranging itself faster than logic alone can fully explain. A shift in timing, opportunity, emotional perspective, or direction changes the atmosphere around you this week. And while part of you may want to control every variable, this card asks for flexibility instead of resistance. What is changing now is meant to change. There's also a strong theme of cycles ending here. You may suddenly recognize an emotional pattern repeating itself one final time before you consciously break it. Or a situation may evolve unexpectedly, forcing you toward a different future than the one you originally planned. Trust movement, even uncertain movement, because stagnation is no longer spiritually sustainable for you. The wheel reminds you that not every disruption is punishment. Some disruptions are course corrections designed to return you to alignment.
Capricorn, you get hexagram 19, Earth over Lake, Approach. This is a hexagram of emotional opening. Approach appears when connection, warmth, vulnerability, and opportunity begin moving closer toward your life again. But emotionally, it also asks whether you are truly prepared to receive what you claim to want. because part of you still instinctively trusts self-sufficiency more than emotional dependence. This week softens that instinct. Someone may approach you emotionally with unusual sincerity, or you may feel your own emotional walls lowering gradually after a long period of restraint. Allow that process to unfold naturally. There is healing available now through receptivity instead of constant control. And emotionally, this hexagram reminds you that closeness is not weakness. Emotional trust does not diminish your strength. It humanizes it.
Capricorn, your rune is Othala. Othala is the rune of inheritance, roots, belonging, legacy, and emotional foundations. This week turns your attention toward what truly sustains your life underneath achievement alone. Family themes may surface now: biological family, chosen family, ancestry, emotional lineage, or inherited emotional patterns. You may recognize ways you've unconsciously repeated survival strategies learned long ago. But Othala also asks a more important question. What kind of emotional legacy are you building moving forward? This rune favors long-term stability, emotional grounding, home energy, and protecting what genuinely matters instead of merely what appears successful externally. And emotionally, there's healing here through reconnection. Not to the past exactly, to your center. Capricorn, your spirit is becoming less interested in endurance without meaning. Othala honors the structures that nourish your soul instead of merely demanding your labor. That realization changes your priorities now. This week brought movement through awareness. Not every answer arrived immediately, but clarity emerged through observation, patience, and emotional honesty. Sometimes, the most important shifts begin quietly, long before the outer world fully reflects them. If this reading connected with you, leave a comment sharing what part of your life feels ready for change now. Small realizations often become the beginning of major future turning points. And remember to watch your rising sign horoscope as well. Your rising sign frequently reveals the structural direction your life is moving toward beneath the emotional surface. Move carefully this week, but do not fear evolution.